Welcome to our podcast. I am Primus, and you are listening to Behind the Scenes at Octavius Reviews. We hope that you enjoy our broadcast and think of us kindly. For a glossary of terms and nomenclature, please see the description. Also, check our site for more detailed information on the games and for links to the demos, as a convenience, of course. Thank you for listening.
Welcome back to Episode 7. You're listening to Octavius Reviews Behind the Scenes, and I am your host, Janice. I'm joined today by my best friend and coworker, Primus. And Internet, if you're listening, thanks. So let's start by catching the listeners up on what a Josei title actually is, because there is a difference between an otome title and a Josei title.
This will be a bit of a monologue.
Educate.
Josei and otome are often conflated because both are created for women, but the market treats them as entirely different ecosystems. Otome is the commercial giant. It is romance-driven, choice-based, and designed for broad accessibility. It targets teens and young adults, and because it is profitable, publishers invest heavily in it. Josei is the opposite. It is written for adult women and focuses on realism, emotional maturity, and grounded life experiences. It is not structured around player romance routes, and it does not promise wish fulfillment. The market sees Josei as literary rather than commercial, which is why the number of Josei game adaptations is so small. Publishers do not believe mature realism sells as well as fantasy romance, so they rarely fund Josei games. This is why we could only showcase one true Josei title with a demo. Dandelion, Wishes Brought to You.
Really? That is the only one?
Truly. I think it is because life for most women isn't something they want to relive in their free time. Josei can be too real. It doesn't offer the escape that otome does, because let's face it, otome is the better fantasy.
So then the rest of the Josei works exist as manga, anime, or drama, not as games.
Or they're buried on itch, or locked behind region restrictions in Japan, Korea, or China.
I guess life is harder for women outside of the West.
Some would argue it is just hard for women in general.
Word.
That is why a title like Reign of Nightfall is so interesting. It has the potential to reinvent the genre, creating a market for an entirely new line of strong female protagonists within a space that has been male-dominated for decades. You might even call it egocentric.
Whoa, that is a loaded statement. I will have to question you on that later.
Anyway, if you wanted to find Josei titles, you would not look in the otome market at all. You would look at Japanese women's magazines such as You, Feel Young, Kiss, and Chorus, because those are the publications where Josei originates. You would also examine the catalogues of publishers like Shueisha, Kodansha, and Hakusensha, since they curate adult women demographics. From there, you would trace which Josei manga received anime adaptations, and then determine whether any of those properties were licensed into games. That is the only reliable path, because Josei games do not form a standalone market. They are byproducts of Josei literature, not a genre of their own.
But if they're all hard luck stories, then why would women even go there in the first place?
Well, that is an interesting question. They're not all about hard luck. Yes, there is some of that. The violent lovers, the domineering husband, but you also find a lot of empowerment. Women breaking free from traditional expectations and branching out into new realms of discovery. The market remains small because these stories can be too real, or they venture into places the conservative establishment does not respect. Some of these ideas explore women who do not want a single partner, or marriage, or children, or the traditional path. They want the freedom to discover what satisfies them, or to live an adventurous life away from prescribed roles. They explore areas that have been closed to them because of their gender.
You're talking about sex stuff, aren't you?
Yes, but I thought I was talking around it. But yes, that too.
I see.
Don't get me wrong. It is more about personal discovery and empowerment than sexual politics. Consider how the world would treat a woman in a throuple or a quintuple, while no one blinks at a man or a Mormon with many wives. Bigamous relationships are largely men, are they not?
You make a point. So it is boundaries and limitations, subjects not everyone is willing to consider or find appropriate.
Exactly. And probably also about how for women so much is tied to your looks, what doors will open to you, and how you may be received.
So that brings us back to Dandelion, because it is the one title we found that actually carries Josei DNA. It is otome on the surface, but the emotional structure is Josei. The protagonist is an adult woman dealing with loneliness, pressure, and the weight of expectation. The romance is not just fantasy, it is a metaphor for healing. That is what made it so popular. It gave players the fantasy, but it also gave them the realism.
Exactly. And that is where things get interesting, because some otome titles flirt with Josei themes. They are not fully Josei, but they touch the edges. Nameless does this. Moon Corona does this. Seduce Me does this. They explore trauma, identity, self-worth, and emotional recovery. They are still fantasy, but they carry a shadow of realism that resonates with older players.
So they are not Josei, but they borrow the flavor.
Yes, they borrow the flavor, they borrow the emotional weight, they borrow the maturity. They are otome with a Josei aftertaste.
So let us recap what we actually found. For Josei, we had only one title with a playable demo, Dandelion, Wishes Brought to You. For otome, we had Nameless, Moon Corona, and Seduce Me, all of which flirt with Josei themes even though they are not Josei by definition.
And we should clarify that we are talking about the games themselves, not any anime or manga versions. Some Josei stories have adaptations that change the tone completely, so our classification is based on the game, not the source material.
So then Dandelion is the one that stands out.
It does. It is the only title we found that carries genuine Josei energy inside an otome framework. It feels grounded. It feels adult. It feels believable. And that is why it resonated with so many players.
So let us go deeper into the otome titles that flirt with Josei, because their plots are doing something interesting.
Nameless is the strongest example. On the surface, it is an otome about dolls coming to life, but the emotional core is about abandonment, identity, and the fear of being forgotten. The protagonist is not a teenager. She is dealing with adult loneliness. The romance roots are secondary to her emotional recovery.
Moon Corona does something similar. It deals with isolation, self-worth, and the desire to be seen, just like Octavius Reviews. It is still fantasy, but it understands adulthood. It understands what it feels like to be overlooked.
Accurate. Painfully accurate.
I speak truth to pixels.
Seduce Me is another one. It is marketed as otome, but the themes are heavier than the packaging suggests. It deals with trust, vulnerability, and the consequences of emotional dependency. It is not Josei, but it is Josei adjacent.
So even though these titles are not Josei, they borrow the emotional weight.
And that is why they matter. Players want stories that feel believable. They want fantasy that understands adulthood and does not talk down to them.
So even with only one true Josei title, we still found 3 otome titles that carry Josei energy.
And that middle space is important. It is where creators experiment. It is where new genres begin. It is where players discover that they want more than fantasy. They want fantasy that understands them.
In Rollover and Die, they are both women. Both female. So imagine it. A lesbian otome built on that kind of trauma. What would that even look like?
It would be unlike anything the otome market has ever produced. The heroine would not be a blushing schoolgirl. She would be a betrayed warrior, sold into slavery, stripped of dignity, and forced to survive in a world that wants her dead. And the woman she rescues would not be a love interest. She would be a lifeline, someone who understands the brutality of the world because she has lived it too.
So the romance would come from survival.
Exactly. Not from flirting, not from tropes, not from scripted chemistry. It would come from shared hunger, shared fear, shared nights where both of them wonder if they will see morning. It would be a romance born in the dark, not in the glow of a lantern festival.
That is not the usual otome formula.
It is the opposite of the usual formula. There would be no sparkles, no dramatic CGs, no accidental hand touches. Their intimacy would be quiet, slow, built on trust that neither of them has any reason to give. It would be the kind of love story that grows in the cracks of trauma, not in the comfort of fantasy.
And the market would panic.
Absolutely. Western audiences say they want lesbian stories, but they want them sanitized. They want them celebratory. They want them wrapped in empowerment slogans and pastel marketing. They do not want a romance between two women who have been brutalized by the world and still choose each other anyway. That is too real, too human, too close to the bone.
But it would be powerful.
It would be devastating. It would be unforgettable. It would be the kind of otome that does not ask permission to exist. And that is exactly why it would scare people. Because it would prove that romance does not have to be soft to be meaningful. It does not have to be pretty to be true. Sometimes the strongest love stories are the ones forged in fire.
There are otome games for gay and lesbian players that don't hinge on impossibly hard luck life stories, where the interactions are implied but not directly stated. I thought the story of Roll Over and Die was interesting. It merges extreme circumstances into a powerful narrative that ends with hope, even if the world they live in is too corrupt.
And that's the part people forget. A story can be dark without being despairing. A romance can come from trauma without being defined by it. What Roll Over and Die does well is showing that connection can grow in places where everything else is broken. It's not about suffering, it's about survival. And that's why it resonates. Not because it's extreme, but because it's honest.
Honest, and strangely hopeful.
Hope is always strange in a world that's falling apart. That's what makes it powerful. When that is literally all you have to hold on to.
We took a dark turn there at the end. Sorry, Internet.